Hey everybody, it's Jess, and you get two videos today because I'm kind of an idiot. The previous video, I filmed it yesterday, I edited it, that's an obnoxious word. I edited it yesterday, and I uploaded it, put all the tags in the description and all that good stuff, but I forgot to switch it from private to public. So I always like to take a look and see how many people have viewed my videos and such like, and check to see if I have any comments or questions on my videos. And so I looked this morning and I was like, nobody watched my video from yesterday. What's going on there? And upon further investigation, discovered my stupidity. So I'm sorry about that, but it just means you get two videos today. So that's cool, right? And I'm digging my hair today. I really am. Like, this is the first time I have done this particular style. I really like it. It got a little flattened right here, so looks kind of like cone-headish right here right now. But it didn't start out that way. It started out more, yeah, like this. Yeah. You see? You did. I don't know if the lighting is gonna be productive as far as that goes. Anyway, so in yesterday's video, I mentioned that my seizures are kind of, sort of, maybe CF related. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Also, I need some lotion, so don't mind me. And I also had my annual neurology appointment today, so I figured what a better time to talk about my particular case when it comes to seizures and CF. So, just a little background, people with CF are not necessarily more prone to seizures than the general population. I've come across a couple of people with CF in internet land who have had seizures due to extremely low blood sugar or a medication side effect or interaction. And I think I've maybe come across one or two who have just started having seizures for no apparent reason. They can't figure out why, and they've had, more than one. So, if you have CF, you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a seizure. No, not necessarily. It's really not something that you need to worry about. So, what happened with me is, 6 years ago, in the summer, I was participating in a research study for a medication that had the potential to correct the defect in one of the gene mutations that I have that causes my CF. So if it worked, it would effectively halt the progress of my CF, and I had a good chance of not having so many digestive issues anymore. I mean, some damage has been done there, so it's never going to be normal no matter what. But anyway, yeah, it had the potential to stop the progression of my CF altogether. So I was really excited to be in this study, and it was a blind study, meaning that oh, my eyelashes are sticking together. A blind study means that nobody except the pharmaceutical company who is running the study knows if I was on the actual drug or the placebo, because there's always a placebo group that they have to test against to help determine the effectiveness of the drug. So nobody, at my hospital who was working on the study knew what I was taking. Not my doctor, not the nurse, not the pharmacy that dispensed it. Nobody knew what I was actually on, okay? So I'd been on it for a few weeks. I want to say maybe about like even 6 weeks. And then just all of a sudden, one morning, about 5 in the morning, I woke up my then boyfriend having a seizure. What a way to wake up, right? Go me. And I guess at first he thought I was like having some sort of breathing issue because I was making like these choking sounds. But then when he like, became a little more coherent, waking up and everything, and was able to kind of take the whole thing in a little better, like he realized I was totally unresponsive. Like he would say my name and be like, what's wrong? And I wouldn't even like look at him or anything. And I was like all clenched up and like doing this. And, so he realized, oh my God, I don't know what this is. And called 911, which is exactly what he should have done. So, EMTs came out, and let me tell you, it's really weird to come back to this reality and you're inside of an ambulance when the last thing you remembered was being in your bed. And then to be told that you actually walked yourself into said ambulance. Really weird. And ever since I started having seizures, I hate having gaps in my memory because I've done things after I've had seizures that are just weird and I don't remember. But that's not the point. Anyway, so they take me to the hospital. They did like a bunch of blood work and did a CT scan of my brain. And the only thing that was a little off was my electrolytes were kind of out of balance. But my CT was normal, no tumors or lesions or anything like that in my brain. And so I was sent home. My CF doctor was informed about what had happened. And since we didn't know whether I was on the placebo or the actual drug, it was decided that I should be dropped from the research study because if it was the actual drug that had caused the seizure, then, there would be potential for me to have more. So, shortly after I saw my neurologist for the first time, and, they kind of went over my history and everything, and like, there's no history of seizures in my family, like, either side, like, not even my cousins, at least that I'm aware of, and I have a lot of cousins have ever had a seizure. As far as I know, none of their kids have even had a seizure. Like, nobody that I know of in my family has ever had a seizure. And so, like, family history wasn't a factor, and they ordered an MRI of my brain and an EEG, which just tracks the electrical activity in your brain, and all that was normal. So there was nothing like physically wrong with my brain to explain why I had the seizure. And the pharmaceutical company would not tell my doctors if I was on the actual study medication or if I was on the placebo, like refused, which on the one hand, I get it because they're trying to, maintain the integrity of the study and everything. And, they don't necessarily want doctors running around saying, oh, you could have a seizure while you're on this stuff. And, that could potentially cost them, that could make people not want to enroll in the study and just scare people and all this stuff. So from that point, I get it. But from another perspective, it's like, it would have been nice to know at the time, like, because maybe then I would have been, if I was on the placebo, then, maybe I would have been allowed to, go back on it, because, I would have been totally willing to be knowingly part of the placebo group. That would be fine by me. It's still for a good cause and everything. But they absolutely refused all of their requests. My doctors tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and got nothing out of him. So my neurologist said, you know, there's definitely a possibility that if you were on this study drug, that could have caused your seizures, but you're not on it anymore. So, you know, you have no family history, can't see anything wrong with your brain. And they pretty much said, go away and we don't need to see you again unless you have another problem. So it's like, cool. They said my chances of having another seizure were fairly low, and they didn't even want to put me on medication at the time. So I was like, awesome, this is great, cool. Well, almost 5 months to the day later, it was like right before Christmas, I had another seizure. And so at that time I was started on medication and have been on it ever since. And it has now been, in 2 days, it will be 4 years since I've had a seizure. So I started having them 6 years ago, and my last one was 4 years ago. So they're very well controlled. I'm legally allowed to drive, but, you know, I do have to get a form filled out by my doctor every 2 years in order to keep my license to drive, just so that the Department of Licensing here in Washington State knows that I am considered healthy enough and, you know, I'm not a high risk driver. So cool, I can drive and all that good stuff. It really, at this point, it doesn't impact my life very much. I see my neurologist once a year. I've seen my neurologist once a year for the last like 5 years. I mean, like, I saw him more when more frequently when I first started going on medication, but now that, like, you know, it's so well controlled and I haven't had an issue in so long, once a year I check in with him, you know, say everything's good, haven't had a problem, and he just renews my medication prescription. So it's awesome. It really doesn't impact my life at all at this point, except for having to take 2 pills a day, and I take tons of pills anyway, so what's 2 more? Now, years later, I want to say probably 2 years ago now, the whole entire study nationally for that medication was concluded, and the company released the results and all this stuff, and they finally came back and said that I was on the actual study medication, but according to them, mine was the only reported seizure. So it's still a possibility that it was triggered by the study medication, and, you know, once you have one seizure, you are prone to having them again. Even though initially they figured my risk was fairly low, you know, it's still just a guess. So, I mean, I probably will never know 100% what started triggering my seizures, but if that drug was to ever get approved, I would have to think, you know, very long and hard and have some, you know, long discussions with my CF doctor and my neurologist about whether or not it would be something that I could and should take, because having seizures is not fun. It's not. I've injured myself. My second one happened when I was in the kitchen, and when I fell, I slammed my face into the counter, gave myself a huge black eye, and had to go to the hospital again for that one just to make sure that I hadn't, like, fractured my, like, orbital socket, and, like, I hadn't injured my brain or given myself a serious concussion or anything, which I didn't, thankfully. It was the black eye, and it was really sore for a while. And the third seizure that I had, I felt it coming on, and I was on my bed, and so I just, like, laid down, and then when I came back to earth, like, literally 5 hours later, and, like, the top of my head hurt, like, I must have, like, jerked up and, like, hit my headboard or something when I was having the seizure, and then I could tell that even though I woke up on my bed, I could tell that at some point I had been up and moving around because things were moved around, and like I had a weird bruise like on the back of my arm that it was just like, it was like a line just like straight across the back of my arm, and it was about the width of my bed is like wrought iron bars and like pipes. It was about the width of those, so it's like I slammed my arm onto my bed, probably the footboard, because I don't know how I would have done it on the headboard, but you know, so it's not fun and it's scary, and the potential for injury is definitely there. So I'm really, really grateful that mine are controlled and I tolerate my medication very, very well. No side effects whatsoever. But still, you know, it is a consideration. Weird things happen. I still could have a seizure at some point. Definitely if for some reason I stopped taking my medication, I probably would start seizing again. So that is how my epilepsy may or may not be related to CF and a study medication that I was taking. So, yeah, if you have any questions about this whole thing, please leave them down below. Like this video if you think it was informative, even though I don't really have any answers in the end. I do tend to think it was a study medication though, just because there's no other, I can't think of another trigger, like, you know, no other reason for me to be having seizures all of a sudden was ever found. So I do lean toward it being the study medication. But anyway, yeah, that's my story. If you have seizures, whether you have CF or not, you know, just know you're not alone. If you want to talk about it, you know, you can message me from Facebook or Twitter, or you can just leave me a comment down here. I'd love to hear your stories, because it's always nice to know you're not the only one out there dealing with a problem. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I have to think of what tomorrow's topic is going to be, but I will come up with something. Don't worry about that, okay? Actually, I know what it's going to be. Ha, I already know. Yes. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great evening. I am cooking pulled pork in the crock pot right now, and it smells so delicious, and it's not done yet. I'm kind of upset about it, but I'm going to go eat some ice cream so I feel better. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.